Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Medical Madam. My name is Lindsay Harding, and I'm a naturopathic doctor in Washington State. And today we're going to talk about one of the most common reasons people come to see me, and that is difficulty sleeping. Specifically, we are going to get into the microbiome-gut-brain axis. So this is how these three organs communicate with one another. And yes, I did just refer to your microbiome as an organ system. Specifically, today we're going to talk about how your microbiome influences your quality of sleep.
All right, so we are diving into the microbiome-gut-brain axis. Calling this part one, there will be many more parts to come, but today we're talking about the microbiome and sleep. So your microbiome-gut-brain axis is a series of bidirectional pathways. That means that the gut can talk to the brain and the brain can talk to the gut, and the same with the microbiome. So we have our immunoregulatory pathways, which influence the immune system. We have our neuroendocrine pathways, which influence our hormones. And we have the vagal nerve pathways, which is the cranial nerve that innervates our gastrointestinal tract and has a major role on motility. So, the microbiome and sleep. Humans with altered sleep cycles, frequent interruption to their sleep, and poor quality sleep all have similar symptoms for the most part, and there is an association with certain diseases and imbalances. So we see an increase in appetite, an increased susceptibility to diabetes and metabolic syndrome, an increased susceptibility to obesity, higher rates of depression and anxiety, as well as hormone imbalances. Quick reminder here to subscribe to my channel, The Medical Madam. So we'll be talking about gut health, brain health, autoimmunity, female hormones, and vaginal health. Throughout all of these videos, I will dive into detail on many different aspects of all of these topics. And for each one, my goal is to explain what the normals are versus abnormals in these systems, how to test for different things, how to problem solve, as well as prevention of disease, because realistically, prevention is the best medicine. So we're talking about the diurnal clock of the microbiome. So it's circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm of your gut microbiome has an effect on your circadian rhythm. The microbiota circadian rhythm is controlled by the timing that you eat your food, as well as what food you eat. And this diurnal interaction between the host and its gut microbiome is vitally important for the metabolic homeostasis of the host. And in this scenario, you are the host. If rhythmic control of the microbiota results in dysbiosis, so an imbalance in the microbiome, we see promotion of metabolic syndrome and obesity. All right, so we're going to look at a study done in mice. So mice that had a germ-free gut, so they did not have a microbiome established, whether they were fed a high-fat diet or a low-fat diet, both groups had a lack of signals that would come from their microbiome because they didn't have an adequate microbiome, and they had disrupted circadian rhythms. Mice that were fed a low-fat diet and had a normal microbiome had normal microbiota signals and had a normal circadian rhythm. Mice that were fed a high-fat diet, but they had dysbiosis, so they had an imbalance in their microbiome, had abnormal signals from the microbiome, and it resulted in a disruption in their circadian rhythm. So here is the research from that study. The study on mice here is the effects of diurnal variation of gut microbes. So what is a normal and healthy microbiome for humans? We should have trillions of organisms. You probably do. At least 1,000 different species should be living in your intestines. Depending on what source you look at, the number of species varies greatly. I went over this in the last PowerPoint on leaky gut. no one really confirms because there's really no way to test. No one really agrees, and that is partially due to individual variation, but also testing limits and lack of money for funding. So we don't want any overgrowth of potentially pathogenic bacteria or yeast. I didn't put it on here, but we also have viruses and parasites that naturally live in a healthy gut microbiome. So we don't want any overgrowth of something that could harm us. And lastly, we don't want any infections. Kind of falls into that last category, but there are certain things that are not potentially pathogenic. They're always pathogenic, and you don't want those. I didn't go into it because there is way too much to cover, but remember that there are a lot of different medications that impact our microbiome and will reduce the variety of species and the total overall organisms. Things like antibiotics, antacids, bile acid sequestrants. There are lots of different medications that have a negative impact, and that doesn't mean that you should stop taking your medication. Please do not. It just means that you might need some extra support to help balance your gut microbiome. Side note, remember that none of the information I am giving here is to treat you. It is just to provide you with information. Please go and see your doctor. So, eating for a healthy microbiome, it's all about fiber. Fiber is digested by the enzymes that are made by the microbiota. Once the fiber is broken down, it's fermented into short-chain fatty acids. These short-chain fatty acids help to modulate the pH of the colon. And through that modulation, what they do is they help a healthy microbiome thrive. So if your colon is too acidic, a lot of potentially pathogenic bacteria will thrive, and you can end up with an infection and dysbiosis. Those short-chain fatty acids, by the way, are actually food for the epithelial cells of your intestine. So what kind of fibers should we eat? So we're looking for fiber that has prebiotics. So inulin-resistant starches, gums, pectins, fructooligosaccharides. So this list of foods here are some of the foods that are the highest in things like inulin and pectins and fructooligosaccharides. So these are going to be really, really great foods to feed your microbiome. So garlic, onions, and leeks are some of the top ones. I will note Jerusalem artichoke is not the same as like a globe artichoke that you buy in the store. A Jerusalem artichoke is a root vegetable. Bananas, even though bananas are high in sugar, bananas are actually really great for your gut microbiome. So what about the time that we eat our food, right? Because that, I mentioned earlier, plays a major role in your microbiome circadian rhythm. Well, unfortunately, we need more research in this area because not a lot is known. Your GI tract needs a break from constant exposure to pathogens. Every time we eat something, there are potential pathogens on our food, in our drinks, and our gut is constantly blocking certain things from entering. Our immune system is always turned on. And so providing at least a 12-hour fast on a daily basis is one of the best ways to give your gut a nice break and to help everything re-regulate, rest, and basically kind of like gear up for the next day. So a 12-hour daily fast does promote a healthy GI tract as well as a healthy gut microbiome. So what we know is that sunlight plays a major role in our circadian rhythm, and what we suspect is that our microbiome also plays a significant role in our circadian rhythm. So let's talk about intermittent fasting a little bit. Intermittent fasting, so specifically fasting that's 12-12, so 12 hours of not eating food, 12 hours of eating food. Then you have a 10-14, so 10-hour window where you can eat, a 14-hour window where you don't eat, or a 16-8, so 16 hours where you are not eating and 8 hours where you can eat. All of those fasting periods should include the time that you're sleeping. So what we see with intermittent fasting is higher levels of growth hormone, Growth hormone is naturally produced while we sleep, and growth hormone helps to repair muscles, cells in the body, and it can help burn fat. We also see an increased production in orexin A levels during the day. So orexin A is a neuropeptide in the brain, and it plays a role in the arousal state and our sleep-wake cycle. So having lower levels at night promotes restful sleep, and having higher levels during the day promotes better cognition, more mental arousal. Set meal times do aid in digestion because the body really likes consistency. And it's also noteworthy that when you eat, your body temperature raises about 20 to 30 minutes after you eat. So if you're eating really close to bed and then you go to bed and you're getting hot or you feel like your body can't regulate, it could have to do with everything going on with your digestion. And so here are some studies going over orexin A as well as growth hormone, and then how intermittent fasting influences circadian rhythms. And so that is pretty much it.
All right, so take homes, eat your fiber, intermittent fasting, don't eat right before bed, and eat more fiber. I am. Get those vegetables in. Yes, ma'am. So I hope you liked this video today and that you will hopefully sleep better from some of this information.